Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Diane Helbig. She is the founder of Helbig Enterprises, where they serve business owners and professionals who want to realize better outcomes and greater happiness. She is an author and hosts the podcast Accelerate Your Business Growth. I have Gladys Baradaran. She has 15 years of HR experience, has a love for organizational development, and is based in Canada. And I have Coach M J Tolan. He is a speaker, author, and entrepreneur with 35 years experience. He has lived in 12 countries and is the host of the podcast Mission I'm Possible. The question I have today, why do different teams within the same organization have wildly different cultures?
Wow, Dr. Robyn, such a good question. This is one of the questions that me and my colleagues, when we go for a drink and we just want to talk about something, it comes up and we just keep scratching our head and coming up with ideas. First of all, when it comes to organizational culture, it's such a unique thing. It's not just one thing that feeds into the culture. So many aspects. There's so many players in there that makes the culture. So any one of them missing, the culture can just start moving somewhere. But as a second thing, culture is a top-down way of looking at it. It is top-down. It has to be your top management leaders. They have to live it. They have to talk about it. They have to show it, have it action on it. And if we have some departments or leads that they're working in silo and they're not playing with everyone, then they're just going to capture the culture of that one leader and they're going to play on silo, play them against everybody else, and they have a different culture.
I'll weigh in here. Interestingly, I so agree with Gladys. And I think culture should be from top down, but I think in a lot of organizations, it's bottom up, which is why you get such different cultures within an organization, because it's about the people in the room. It's about the people in the department and their personalities, how they interact with each other, and how the leadership does or doesn't lead effectively.
I think it's really comes down to leadership. So I would start there. That being said, having had the opportunity to host so many different business units around the world in different cultures, literally, sometimes I have brought in someone who was not a cultural fit at all, just to shake things up, particularly like in sales organizations, because this guy or this lady was different, they had a different energy.
So one of the things that I tell leaders, and I mean, when I say leaders, I mean organizational leaders in business. I also mean coaches on athletic fields. If you don't build a culture on purpose, you will end up with one you don't like. And for me, it's a matter of power. Who on the team has the power? Because they are going to be the ones who create the culture.
100%. I would actually go with what Diane, when what you were saying makes absolute sense too, and link it to what Dr. Robyn said. I would say culture for me is top down, because you want to have your culture champion, something that matches your values, but people, they all have their own personality, their own values, and the biggest voice and the person has the biggest, they're going to win. And if you don't set it up and you don't live it every day and you don't have your culture champion taking people there, those people in the bottom, they're going to take it wherever they want to go. They just go.
Yeah, right. You have those informal leaders, the people who they don't have the title, but they are influencing everything that's going on in that department or that organization.
And it really depends also. Sometimes in different industries, you have competition within humans. So you have some leaders that would say, well, no, that's not a good idea. I think we could probably fix it like this. And you kill the enthusiasm of those people who are contributing, because you have leaders who are in competition with the team members.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. I wonder, so there's two things that came out of that for me. One is competition within teams a healthy thing? But we're going to set that aside. And the question that I want to ask you is, if I run an organization and I have two teams, one that has a really great culture and one that has a not so great culture, what are my opportunities with this top-down, build a culture on purpose idea? How do I fix the one that's not so great? What do I do?
You make them play together first. So if they're gonna, one of the things before setting up your culture, you have your values, you have your champions, all of those things. But if these two department groups, they're working in silos and they're not seeing what is on that other person's plate, what's the reality. So you have to get them to get to know each other. And then you introduce the culture and do that. Because if they're separated from each other, you cannot just come in with a whip and say, here is our culture, do it.
I've done something similar with different departments by integrating the 6 thinking hats concept, so that everyone now takes on a different role, not the role that they have, but somebody else's role. And then having workshops where they are the voice of this new person that they're representing in that new role. It's very interesting dynamic to help people understand what the real values are. And the fruit, of course, is to see them a little closer and a little more empathetic to what the real mission is.
The thing that I would add to that is, I think we forget about being curious. So we have a team that has a bad culture. And so we determine the reasons why. We go instantly to the negative, as opposed to going in and saying, okay, I'm feeling a disconnect. Help me understand how the dynamic in your department matches these values that we have all agreed, that we talk about all the time, because I'm not seeing it. Because they have to answer for it.
I was going to go back to the word culture. I know it's sometimes some people, they look at it as, oh, culture, whatever. But I'm a true believer conversations like that are extremely important. Having a solid culture is important, because I repeat again what Peter Drucker said, culture is strategy for breakfast. So if you want your strategy to work, if you want to be doing successful, you need a solid culture in your organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think a mistake I see leaders make is they want this culture where things work really well together, but then they reward, I did the best sales, so I get the most money. And they create a selfish environment where it's better if I work for myself than if I work for the team. And that's a mistake that I see made in athletics and in corporate.
Sure. Yeah. It's a huge problem. Yeah.
Those leadership ethics are learned behavior. They might have learned that in a family environment, and then, like you just said, in sports teams environments, and then they move into that. Sales is a real big one, because production means volume means money. So, it's always appreciated by the people in organizations that really like to drink and inhale the wealth that sales volume delivers.
And you can create a situation where, like Gladys said, you start bringing them together because you want the good culture to rub off on the not so good culture. And what you end up with is the other way around.
Right. It's so dangerous, right? Because it just, I have to say, when I witness an organization where you can feel the culture is so collaborative and so supportive, and so we're glad you're here, and so let's all work together, and everyone is forthcoming with information. It is amazing how everyone thrives or leaves, which is okay as well. If it's not the place for them, that's okay. But they're so rare, I guess, that they stand out.
I think it's really hard to create a psychologically safe space at work. If you don't have a psychologically safe place, you can't have a healthy culture. The two things kind of go hand in hand. Without one, the other can't exist. I say the biggest mistake I see leaders make is forcing their people to be mediocre by not allowing change, not allowing growth, because you're going to get mediocrity. Yes, I know I can do this.
Yeah, but you don't understand. We've been doing it this way for 10 years, and we've always done it this way. That's the way we do things here.
Exactly.
And listen, not everybody is perfect. Your lone wolf's always going to exist. How you treat your lone wolf, how you place them in organization that you're not going to make them. You brought $20 million. It's okay that you have a bad attitude towards everybody else. If you don't accept that and make a safe place for this lone wolf to work, but not abuse others, there's always a balance, but you have to work on it all the time. You cannot just let it happen, because then the other culture will take over and you have no power.
And then you end up with all lone wolves, and it's a feeding fest, and that's never good.
Lord of the Flies.
And I say this respectfully, but if you think about back in yesteryear, where there were shepherds and there were wolves, that you use that term, and your job is to make sure that they get that this big tribe gets around a certain navigation of a mountain and comes back safely. And your job as the shepherd, as the leader, is to make sure that everybody does get along and that everybody is safe and nobody gets eaten while they're doing their job. So respect is a big thing.
Yeah.
I think this is a huge topic. 10 minutes isn't nearly enough, but thank you so much for having with me. I knew the three of you would have a wonderful conversation with me, and I look forward to speaking to you each again very soon.